The WNBA is about to crown its first ever million-dollar player. Every headline covering that moment will frame it as a landmark for women's basketball. But you came here because you don't stop at headlines. You need to know what's underneath them. Because underneath that historic milestone is a leaked CBA proposal that is methodically gutting the economic future of the vast majority of players in this league. And the people driving that outcome aren't exclusively the owners. Some of the most powerful forces shaping this deal are sitting at the players' own union table, and they stand to benefit enormously from exactly what they're negotiating. A detailed breakdown of the proposal surfaced through front office sports journalist Andy Costabile, who published the leaked specifics while negotiations were still active. When you lay out the actual numbers, the picture that emerges is one that mainstream sports coverage is completely burying. If you're getting real value from what we're unpacking right now, hit that like button. This is the story behind the story, and your support is what keeps this kind of investigative coverage alive. Here's how the math actually breaks down. The league is proposing a $565 million salary cap in year one, while the players' union is asking for $9.5 million. That gap alone tells you how far apart these two sides actually are. But the more revealing fight isn't about the total number. It's about how the money inside that cap gets divided. The proposed supermax salary sits at $113 million, 20% of the total cap. The standard max comes in at $988,750, consuming another 17.5%. Stack two elite players on one roster at those rates, and you've already burned through 37.5% of your entire payroll budget before you've suited up a single role player. Layer on rookie-scale contracts, which are set to increase from the 9.6% they occupied under the previous CBA, and you can see exactly where this is heading for everyone who isn't at the very top. The Indiana Fever example makes this concrete. If Indiana gives Kelsey Mitchell the supermax at $13 million, and the team must honor Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston's combined rookie-scale obligations at roughly $1 million, that's $213 million spent on three players out of a $5.65 million total cap. That leaves approximately $3.4 million to fill 9 more roster spots, working out to about $382,000 per player. That figure is nearly $100,000 less than the average salary the league itself is actively promoting as evidence of progress. Now look at the Las Vegas Aces. Aja Wilson locks in her supermax. If the team tries to keep Kelsey Plum competitive in this market at the standard max rate, you're already past $2.1 million on just 2 players before Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young, or anyone else on a championship-caliber roster. The math simply does not work unless role players accept career-altering discounts just to make the numbers fit. And under this new proposal, one more door closes for players outside the top tier. The supermax would no longer be earnable through a sign-and-trade deal. That mechanism was one of the few genuine leverage points available to players who weren't stars, a path to better situations without needing full unrestricted free agency. That path is now gone. Here's the detail that ties this all together. The union board negotiating this deal, the decision-makers, the loudest voices in these rooms, are the established stars with endorsement contracts and significant financial cushion. They are the players who will receive those 7-figure supermax checks. They are not the role player making $90,000 with rent due and no European market strong enough to absorb her skill set. But the owners held one more card, and its timing was more damaging to the union's position than anything the league office could have engineered on their own. Unrivaled launched while CBA negotiations were still active, and those viewership numbers handed the owners something no league executive could have manufactured: public proof, generated by the players themselves, that the union's core bargaining argument was not supported by the market. The union walked into these negotiations claiming historic popularity, broad star power, and maximum leverage to demand a significantly larger revenue share. The WNBA's median player salary last season sat at approximately $113,000. These are not athletes with nine-figure endorsement portfolios who can absorb 6 months without game checks. The role players needed this negotiation to deliver real material gains. And then Unrivaled provided the receipts that undercut every claim the union had made about the league's commercial value beyond one specific player. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Do you think the WNBA's middle class is getting deliberately sold out by this structure? Or is concentrating money at the top the only financially viable path forward for this league? We read every single one. When Angel Reese made her highly anticipated return to Unrivaled, following weeks of heavy promotional investment, genuine media buildup, and significant resources poured into positioning her as a face capable of carrying women's basketball into a new era. The debut registered 130,000 total viewers. That headline number gets circulated. But the figure that advertisers and broadcast partners actually base their financial decisions on, adults aged 18 to 49. That key demographic produced just 40,000 viewers. Paige Bueckers, aggressively positioned as the next generational star of women's basketball, brought in 30,000 viewers in that same critical age group, not 300,000, 30,000. And it was not an isolated result. Heavy hitters from across the league participated in Unrivaled, and the numbers were consistently poor across the board every single time. What those ratings told every entity that writes a check to this league is exactly what the owners needed them to say. The value proposition the union was presenting in CBA negotiations, that the WNBA had developed broad, deep, monetizable star power, was being refuted in real time by the players' own showcase league during the players' own negotiation. The owners did not need to make that argument. The receipts made it for them. And that shifted the entire dynamic of what players could credibly demand at the table. Here is the detail that should alarm every veteran role player right now. Reporting from Front Office Sports, citing multiple sources familiar with negotiations, confirmed that the players' union leadership actually wants a similar percentage allocation for max salaries as what the league proposed. The union is not fighting the top-heavy structure. They have explicitly signaled they support it. Now factor in who that union leadership actually is. Nneka Ogwumika, as president of the Players Association, is a decorated veteran with endorsement income and the financial foundation to sustain a prolonged standoff. The board members driving these decisions alongside her hold similar safety nets. But the player earning between $80,000 and $100,000 per season, with no viable European market for her skill level and a household depending on those game checks, has no such buffer. She needed her union to fight for a rising tide. What she's getting instead is a structure that redistributes money away from her and toward the players who were already sitting at the negotiating table. And if this kind of deep dive analysis is what keeps you coming back to this channel, consider becoming a member. Your support is what makes it possible to keep going this deep on the stories nobody else is covering at this level. The join button is right below this video. This is the oldest negotiating strategy in the world. Divide and conquer. Give the players with the loudest voices exactly what they want, and they stop fighting for everyone who doesn't have a platform. A'ja Wilson securing $113 million does not feel the same urgency as the veteran making $90,000 who just learned her cut protection is disappearing, and the owners knew that dynamic going in. Under the previous CBA, A'ja Wilson actually took a discount from her supermax eligibility to help the Aces build the kind of championship roster she wanted to play on. She sacrificed real money to compete. But under this new structure, applying that same percentage discount would now cost her $226,000 per year in foregone income, nearly $250,000 annually. At some point, those sacrifices stop being reasonable to ask for. And when stars stop absorbing roster-building costs, it is the middle class that takes on that shortfall. When the WNBA announces its first million-dollar player, the coverage will celebrate it as historic progress for the sport. The casual fan sees that headline and reads it as growth. What that headline will not show is the veteran on her fourth team in 5 years who just got cut because there was no cap room left after the supermax and rookie scale obligations were satisfied. She was sold out by the system built to protect her. And once ratification happens, there is no recourse left. The only window to change this outcome is before that vote is taken. Role players who make up the economic middle of this league need to organize now, pushing back on the allocation structure, demanding a higher salary floor, insisting on minimum contract protections that actually serve the majority of players and not just the ones already securing million-dollar checks. If that organizing doesn't happen before ratification, these players will spend the next several years watching the league celebrate milestones while quietly recalculating their own budgets. The ratification vote is coming, and we will be here for every development in this story as it unfolds. Subscribe and hit the notification bell, because what gets decided in the next few weeks will define the financial reality of this league for the women who need this CBA to actually work for them.